The announcer called my name and the auditorium erupted with cheers. I stepped forward, cap squared on my head, gown flowing behind me. My eyes swept the front row, the section I'd reserved weeks ago. For empty seats stared back at me like missing teeth in a smile. I kept walking, legs shaking, forcing my lips into something that resembled joy. Around me, my classmates waved to parents holding bouquets and cameras. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I couldn't check it yet. The dean shook my hand, pressed my diploma into my palm. The photographer's flash went off. I smiled for strangers while my chest caved in. Later, in the bathroom, I finally read the text from Mom. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart. But your sister just told us she's pregnant again. We had to celebrate with her. We'll do something special for you soon, promise." I stared at my reflection in the mirror, mascara smudged, smile gone. That was the moment I realized I didn't have a family anymore. My name is Elise Porter, and this is how I made them remember me. I drove home still wearing my cap and gown, tears soaking into the cheap polyester fabric. The streets blurred past me. Without thinking, I turned down Maple Avenue, the street where I grew up. Their house glowed warm against the evening sky. Through the front window, I could see balloons spelling out baby number 3, in shimmering silver letters. Laughter echoed from inside. I parked across the street and sat there like a ghost haunting my own childhood. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The front door opened, and Mom stepped out to grab something from her car. She glanced up, saw me sitting there in my graduation gown, and our eyes met for exactly 3 seconds. Then she looked away, walked back inside, and pulled the curtains shut. I felt something crack inside my chest. Mrs. Patterson, our neighbor, came out of her house with a concerned look. She walked straight to my car window and tapped gently. When I rolled it down, she pulled me into a hug right there through the window. "You deserved better than them, honey," she whispered. "You always did." That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories flooded back, uninvited but persistent. I was the oldest daughter, the responsible one. When I was 22 and supposed to start college, my sister Callie had her first baby. She was only 19, unmarried, and Mom declared she was too exhausted to help raise another child. So I postponed my dreams and became a second mother to my nephew. I changed diapers, handled midnight feedings, gave up weekends and scholarships. Callie, meanwhile, was the golden child. Pretty, carefree, always forgiven. She could do no wrong in their eyes. When she got pregnant the second time at 23, they threw a party. When I finally enrolled in night classes at 26, nobody noticed. For 4 long years, I worked full-time at a bookstore during the day and studied until midnight. I saw Callie maybe twice a month at family dinners, where she talked about her life while I served the food. They didn't just forget me on graduation day. They'd been forgetting me my entire life. That realization should have destroyed me. Instead, it set me free. The next evening, I sat alone at my small kitchen table. I'd bought myself a single cupcake from the bakery downtown, stuck a candle in it, and propped my diploma against the salt shaker. The flame flickered in the quiet apartment. I took a photo, then recorded a short video for my classmates who'd asked why my family didn't show up. I kept it simple, honest. To anyone walking alone tonight, I said to the camera, "You're not invisible. Your accomplishments matter, even if the people you love don't see them yet. Keep going." I posted it to the class group chat, then to my personal social media, not expecting much. The next morning, I woke up to 300 notifications. The video had been shared across campus, then to the alumni network, then beyond. Messages poured in from strangers. This made me cry. I walked alone too. "You're incredible." By afternoon, the video had reached someone important. Dean Victoria Harlow from the college called me directly. "Elise," she said, her voice warm, "would you be interested in mentoring adult learners? We need someone who understands what it means to fight for education." I said yes before she finished the sentence. The mentoring position started 2 weeks later. I met students who were older than me, some with children, some working 3 jobs, all exhausted but determined. For the first time in my life, people saw me not as Callie's responsible sister or mom's helper, but as Elise, someone worth listening to. I created study groups, organized coffee meetups, helped them navigate financial aid forms. They thanked me with tears in their eyes. I felt something I'd never felt before. Purpose. Worth. But then my phone rang one Thursday evening. Mom's name lit up the screen. I almost didn't answer. "Sweetie," she said, her voice bright and oblivious, "Callie's having a baby shower next month. You'll come, right? She specifically asked for you." I closed my eyes. Of course she did. Callie always asked for me when she needed something. "I'll think about it," I said quietly. Mom laughed like I'd made a joke. "Don't be silly. Family always shows up for family." The irony burned like acid in my throat. But I agreed to attend, telling myself I could be civil, that I was bigger than my anger. I was wrong. The baby shower was held at a country club I could never afford. I arrived exactly on time, carrying a gift I'd carefully chosen. The room sparkled with pink decorations and expensive flower arrangements. Callie held court in the center, glowing and gorgeous, surrounded by friends. Mom spotted me first and waved me over. "Everyone," she announced loudly, "this is Callie's older sister. She just finished school finally." The word finally stabbed deep. Callie's friend smiled politely, clearly wondering why a 30-year-old woman finishing college was worth mentioning. Callie herself smirked at me from her throne-like chair. "Better late than never, right, Elise?" Her friends giggled. I felt heat rise in my face. For 2 hours, I helped serve cake, refilled drinks, cleaned up wrapping paper. Nobody asked about my degree or my new job. I was invisible again, the helper in the background. Halfway through, I quietly gathered my purse and slipped toward the exit. Outside, footsteps followed me. "Elise, wait." It was Ryan, Callie's husband. He looked genuinely upset. "You deserved that day," he said softly. "Your graduation." Not her. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just nodded and left. Over the next few months, I threw myself into work. The mentoring program grew. I organized community workshops, brought in guest speakers, created resource guides. My supervisor praised my initiative. Local businesses started noticing. Then, unexpectedly, a reporter from the Lakewood Gazette reached out. They were doing a series called Women Who Rise, featuring community members making a difference. They wanted to interview me. The article ran on a Sunday. My photo appeared on page 3, alongside quotes about resilience and second chances. The headline read, "Elise Porter, proving it's never too late to chase your dreams." I bought 5 copies of the paper, giddy with pride. I sent one to Mrs. Patterson, who'd been checking on me regularly. Then, cautiously, I sent one to my parents' house. Mom texted back 3 hours later, "That's nice, honey. Your father says the photo is lovely." Callie thought it was cute. Cute. That single word deflated everything. My accomplishment, my interview, my face in the newspaper, reduced to cute. But I didn't cry this time. I felt something different stirring inside me. Something cold and determined. Let them dismiss me. I wasn't done yet. Thanksgiving arrived like a storm I'd been dreading. Mom insisted on family dinner, and I couldn't find an excuse strong enough to decline. I volunteered to bring the main dishes, spending all day Wednesday cooking. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green beans, 2 pies. I loaded everything into my car Thursday morning and drove to their house. The table was set beautifully, flowers arranged just so. Callie arrived late, of course, with Ryan and the kids. She wore a designer maternity dress that probably cost more than my rent. Dinner began with Mom fussing over Callie's comfort. Then Callie stood, raising her glass of sparkling cider. I just want to say, she announced, that I'm so grateful to be balancing family and success. It's hard, but so rewarding. Mom beamed. That's what a real woman does. Family first, always. I kept my eyes on my plate, chewing mechanically. Nobody mentioned the food I'd prepared. Then my 8-year-old niece, Mara, piped up. Aunt Elise's picture was in the newspaper. My teacher showed us. The table went silent. Mom smiled tightly. That's nice, sweetheart. But real success is having a family who loves you. The words hung in the air like poison. I set down my fork carefully. Excuse me, I said quietly, standing. I need some air. Outside, I sat on the porch steps and decided. They would regret those words. Not today, not through shouting or tears. But someday, somehow, they would remember what they'd done. I channeled every ounce of pain into action. The next week, I learned about a state grant for expanding adult education programs in underserved counties. The application was brutal, requiring detailed proposals, community impact assessments, partnership agreements. I worked on it every night for 3 weeks, barely sleeping. I outlined programs for literacy, job training, financial planning, and college prep. I contacted local businesses for support letters. I crafted budgets and timelines with obsessive precision. When I finally submitted it, I felt hollowed out but hopeful. 2 months later, I got the call. My proposal had been approved. Not just approved, funded at the highest level. The county was creating a new Department of Community Education Partnerships, and they wanted me to serve as the founding director. Me. The woman who walked across the stage alone. The one they called cute in a newspaper. I accepted immediately. The position came with an office, a staff, and something powerful, control over which businesses and organizations received training partnerships and educational funding. Including small businesses like the one Ryan had been trying to launch. I didn't plan revenge. It simply arranged itself. My new office overlooked Main Street, with tall windows and a desk that actually fit all my materials. I had 2 staff members, both kind and competent. We processed applications from local businesses seeking partnerships, training grants, and workforce development funding. The work was satisfying, important. Then Ryan called. I saw his name on my screen and almost didn't answer. Elise, he said, sounding strained, congratulations on the new position. That's really impressive. I waited. I'm calling because Callie and I started a business. A boutique for baby and children's clothing. We're applying for one of those workforce training partnerships. I was hoping maybe you could put in a good word. I kept my voice professional. Ryan, all applications go through the standard review process. If you meet the criteria, you'll be considered fairly. He hesitated. Right. Of course. Thanks. After we hung up, I pulled up his application. It was thin, rushed, missing key documentation. Callie's name was listed as co-owner. I reviewed it objectively, noting deficiencies. Then I moved it to the standard queue. No favors. But no sabotage either. Just fairness. They'd never given me that courtesy. I would. 2 weeks later, Ryan and Callie came to my office for their partnership interview. Required procedure for all applicants. Callie walked in first, scanning the space like she was evaluating a hotel room. Wow, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, you have an actual office now. With a nameplate and everything. I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. Please sit. Let's discuss your application. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Callie looked amused. I walked them through the standard questions: business plan sustainability, community impact, commitment to employee education. Their answers were vague, unprepared. Callie kept checking her phone. Finally, I closed my folder. Unfortunately, your application doesn't meet our current criteria. You'd need stronger financial projections and a clearer training implementation plan. Callie's smile vanished. What does that mean? It means you don't qualify. Yet. You're welcome to reapply next quarter with improved documentation. Her face flushed. This is ridiculous. We're family. I met her eyes calmly. Which is exactly why I'm holding you to the same standards as everyone else. They left angry. I felt nothing but relief. Outside my door, I heard Callie hiss at Ryan, I told you she'd be useless. I smiled and returned to my work. 3 months into my new role, the Lakewood Community Foundation announced their annual awards. I received a letter informing me I'd been selected as Community Leader of the Year for my work in adult education. The ceremony would be held at the Grand Hall, the same venue where I'd graduated alone. I read the letter 3 times, disbelieving. The award came with a plaque, a small grant for my program, and a speaking opportunity. I immediately thought of that empty front row. Now I'd be standing on that stage again, but this time as someone they couldn't ignore. I didn't tell my family. I didn't invite them. But somehow, they found out. Mom called the week before the ceremony. Elise. We heard about your award. We're so proud. We'll all be there to support you. My stomach dropped. You don't need to come. Don't be silly. Family supports family. The irony was suffocating. The night of the ceremony arrived. I wore a navy dress, simple but elegant. When I entered the Grand Hall, I saw them immediately. Front row, center. Mom, Dad, Callie, Ryan. Mom waved enthusiastically, already telling the people around her that she'd raised such a hardworking girl. I turned away before the anger could surface. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. Local leaders spoke about community investment and educational equity. When my name was called, I walked to the stage, accepting the plaque with shaking hands. The applause felt surreal. Afterward, at the reception, my family swarmed me. Mom hugged me for the cameras others were taking. Dad patted my shoulder awkwardly. Callie stood back, arms crossed over her pregnant belly, looking bored. Then she cornered me by the refreshment table. You know what this is, right? She hissed, her voice low and sharp. You think getting some award makes you better than me? You think people actually care about your little charity project? I set down my punch cup carefully. I think I earned something, Callie. That's all. You've always been jealous of me. Always. And now you're trying to make me look bad. I felt something snap inside me. I didn't make you miss my graduation. You did that yourself. Her face twisted. Oh please. Get over it. Nobody cares about your stupid degree. Ryan appeared then, touching Callie's arm. Let's go. People are watching. Callie jerked away from him and stormed toward the exit. But Ryan lingered, looking at me with something like regret. You have no idea what's coming, he muttered. Then he followed his wife into the night. I tried to put the encounter behind me and focus on work. But strange things started happening. A week after the ceremony, critical paperwork for my grant disappeared from my office. Financial documentation I'd filed carefully was suddenly missing. Then anonymous complaint letters arrived at the county administrator's office, accusing me of favoritism and unprofessional conduct. The accusations were vague but pointed, giving preferential treatment to certain businesses, excluding others without cause. My supervisor called me in, looking troubled. Elise, these complaints are serious. We need to investigate. I felt my stomach drop. I've done everything by the book. Every decision is documented. I believe you. But we have to follow protocol. For 2 weeks, every move I made was scrutinized. Every application I'd approved was reviewed. Every email was read. The stress was crushing. Then something odd happened. My assistant, Marcus, came to my office looking angry. Someone tried to impersonate a donor, he said. Called our main line claiming to be from the Riverside Foundation, asking about your questionable practices. But the Riverside Foundation doesn't exist. My blood ran cold. Did you trace the call? Caller ID was blocked. But Elise, the handwriting on those complaint letters? I noticed something. He showed me the letters. The cursive was elaborate, old-fashioned. Familiar. It was my mother's handwriting. I'd seen it on birthday cards my entire life. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I focused on clearing my name. The investigation concluded within a week. Every allegation was proven false. My documentation was meticulous, my decisions justified, my conduct professional. The county administrator apologized personally. But the damage lingered. Doubt had been planted. Around the office, I caught sympathetic glances, whispered conversations. My colleagues rallied around me, bringing coffee and words of encouragement. Marcus started staying late to help me reorganize files. Whoever tried to sabotage you, he said one evening, they underestimated you. Maybe they did. Or maybe they just knew exactly which wounds to press. I had a speaking engagement scheduled for the following month. Another community event, same grand hall, about educational opportunities for women. I'd been preparing for weeks, but now the speech took on new meaning. I rewrote entire sections, adding personal stories I'd planned to omit. If my family wanted to destroy me quietly, I'd respond loudly. Not with anger, but with truth. Marcus noticed my intensity. You okay? I'm better than okay, I said. I'm ready. The day of the speech arrived faster than I expected. But this time, I wasn't nervous. I was focused. The auditorium filled with nearly 300 people. Community members, educators, business owners, local politicians. I stood backstage, breathing deeply, reviewing my notes one final time. The introducer finished my bio, and I walked into the lights. The podium felt familiar now, less terrifying than before. I began speaking about barriers to education, about the adults I'd mentored who juggled impossible schedules. My voice was steady, confident. Then, midway through, the back doors opened. I glanced up instinctively. My mother and Callie walked in, late as always, making a scene. They found seats in the middle section, Mom waving at people she recognized. I paused. The audience noticed my hesitation, followed my gaze. For 5 seconds, silence filled the room. Then I made a decision. You know, I said, my voice carrying through the microphone, the last time I stood on this stage, I crossed it alone. I'd worked for 4 years, studying while working full-time, sacrificing weekends and sleep. And when they called my name at graduation, nobody was there. The room went absolutely still. I checked my phone afterward and found a text saying my family couldn't come because my sister had bigger news. More important news. I could see Mom's face draining of color. Callie started to stand, but Ryan pulled her back down. I'm not telling you this for pity, I continued. I'm telling you because sometimes the people who teach us the hardest lessons are the ones who were supposed to love us most. The audience erupted. Not with gasps, but with applause. Slowly at first, then building into something thunderous. People stood. Strangers were crying. I saw phones come out, recording. My mother and Callie sat frozen, their faces bright red. Callie grabbed her purse and stood abruptly, pushing past people toward the aisle. Mom hesitated, looking between me and her departing daughter, then followed. Ryan remained seated, staring at his hands. I continued my speech as if nothing had happened, talking about resilience and self-worth and the importance of showing up for ourselves when others won't. When I finished, the standing ovation lasted 2 full minutes. Afterward, people swarmed me with hugs and stories. I walked alone too. My family never came to anything. You spoke for so many of us. The local news had covered the event. By that evening, a clip of my speech was circulating on social media. By the next morning, it was everywhere. The college shared it on their official page with the caption, "This is what resilience looks like." Messages flooded in from across the state. Interview requests. Speaking invitations. My phone didn't stop buzzing for 3 days. And my family stayed completely silent. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. 2 weeks after the speech, cracks started showing in Callie's perfect life. Her boutique, which had barely opened, was struggling. Customers were sparse, inventory was expensive, overhead was crushing. Then several of her suppliers backed out of contracts. Turns out, the speech had identified our family publicly. People connected the dots. Some customers stopped shopping there deliberately, leaving negative reviews mentioning family values. Ryan's other business ventures, which had been limping along, collapsed entirely. He'd been relying on partnerships my department funded, but his applications kept getting rejected for legitimate reasons: incomplete paperwork, poor business models, lack of community benefit. I wasn't sabotaging them. The system was simply working as it should. Meanwhile, my program thrived. We received additional state funding. I hired 2 more staff members. We expanded into 3 neighboring counties. Then the governor's office called. I'd been nominated for the State Excellence in Education Award. The ceremony would be held in the capital in 3 months. It was the kind of recognition that changed careers. And my family was drowning while I rose higher. One evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Elise? It was Ryan. His voice was strained, desperate. We need to talk. In person. Please. We met at a coffee shop on neutral ground, across town from anywhere we might be recognized. Ryan looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, rumpled clothes, defeated posture. He ordered black coffee and didn't touch it. Callie doesn't know I'm here, he started. She'd kill me if she knew. I waited. The business is failing. We're drowning in debt. Your mother took out a loan against their house to help us, and now they can't make payments. Everyone's panicking. I sipped my tea, saying nothing. I know what they did to you was wrong. I've always known. But they're desperate now, and your mother wanted me to ask if you could help. Maybe recommend us for one of those grants or partnerships. The audacity almost made me laugh. Ryan, you know I can't do that. Every decision I make is documented and reviewed. I know. I told her you'd say that. He rubbed his face. She wants to talk to you. To apologize, she says. But really, she just wants you to fix this. I considered him carefully. And what do you want? He looked me in the eye. I want you to know the truth. Callie forged signatures on some loan documents. Used your name and credentials without permission to get business credit. If it comes out, you could be implicated. My blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? Ryan pulled out his phone, showing me scanned documents. There it was, my name, my college information, forged on credit applications for Callie's boutique. They'd made me a guarantor without my knowledge or consent. This is fraud, I said quietly. This is serious fraud. I know. That's why I'm telling you. I can't be part of this anymore. He looked genuinely miserable. What should I do? I thought carefully. Every instinct screamed to call a lawyer, to protect myself immediately. But I also saw an opportunity. Not for revenge, but for justice. You need to report this, I said firmly. Go to the authorities. Tell them what happened. The longer you wait, the worse it gets for everyone, including you. Callie will never forgive me. Callie made her choices. You need to make yours. He sat there for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're right. You've always been the strong one. He left the coffee shop looking lighter despite the darkness ahead. I immediately called my lawyer. Within 2 days, I had documentation proving I'd never signed those forms. My credit was frozen, my accounts were monitored. Then Ryan did what I'd suggested. He went to the state business licensing board and confessed everything. The investigation was swift and thorough. Callie's boutique was shut down pending review. Criminal charges were being considered. My name was cleared completely. The local news covered it carefully, noting the fraudulent use of credentials. My family's collapse became public. I stayed quiet through all of it, focusing on my work. The investigation concluded within a month. Callie was found guilty of fraud and forgery. She received probation, community service, and a permanent mark on her business record. She'd never be able to open another business without intense scrutiny. The boutique's debts were crushing. They lost their house. Mom and Dad's loan went into default. They had to sell their home, the house I'd grown up in, and move into a small apartment across town. The same community that had once celebrated Callie now watched her fall with a mixture of pity and judgment. Through it all, I remained graceful. When reporters asked for comment, I simply said, "I hope everyone involved learns from this and moves forward positively." I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate their misery. I just kept working. My program was helping hundreds of people now. Students were graduating, finding better jobs, changing their family trajectories. That's where I put my energy. Then something unexpected happened. An envelope arrived at my office, addressed in childish handwriting. Inside was a letter from Mara, my niece. "Dear Aunt Elise," it read. "You are my hero. When I grow up, I want to be strong like you. I'm sorry my mom was mean to you. I love you." Tears blurred my vision. I'd been so focused on the adults that I'd forgotten about the kids watching everything unfold. I wrote back immediately, telling her she could be anything she wanted, that I'd always be there for her. Months passed. Winter turned to spring. Callie and Ryan separated. She moved in with our parents in their cramped apartment, bitter and broken. Ryan found work in another city and left quietly. Mom stopped calling me entirely, too ashamed or too proud. Dad tried once, leaving a voicemail I didn't return. My program continued expanding. We won additional grants. The state recognition ceremony approached. I was invited to speak at the Governor's Education Summit. But the real satisfaction came from smaller moments. Watching my students walk across stages at their own graduations, seeing them hug their families, knowing I'd played some small part in their success. I thought about my own graduation often. That empty front row. The text message. The humiliation. It felt like a lifetime ago, like something that had happened to a different person. One afternoon, Mrs. Patterson called. "Elise, honey, I thought you should know. Your mother is in the hospital. Heart attack. She's stable, but she's asking for you." I sat with the phone in my hand for a long time. I could ignore it. I'd earned that right. But I also knew who I wanted to be. Not someone who abandoned family in crisis. Someone better than that. I drove to the hospital that evening. Mom looked small in the hospital bed, tubes and monitors surrounding her. Her face was pale, older than I remembered. When she saw me, tears started immediately. "Elise," she whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I pulled a chair close and sat down. "For what specifically?" She flinched at the directness. "For everything. For not showing up to your graduation. For dismissing your accomplishments. For letting Callie treat you terribly. For trying to sabotage you when you succeeded." Her voice broke. "I was jealous. I know that's horrible, but it's true. You did everything yourself, and it made me feel like a failure as a mother. Callie needed me, and that made me feel important." You didn't need me, so I convinced myself you didn't matter as much. The honesty was brutal but necessary. Mom, I did need you. I needed you my whole life. I just learned to survive without you. I know. And I destroyed our relationship because of my own insecurity. She reached for my hand. Can you forgive me? I thought about it carefully. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean letting her back into my life unrestricted. It meant releasing the poison. I can forgive you, I said slowly. But things will never be the way you want them to be. I'm not your helper anymore. I'm not your backup plan. I'm my own person, with my own life. She nodded, tears streaming. That's more than I deserve. A year after my graduation, I organized something new, the Walking Alone Scholarship. Funded through my program and private donations, it provided financial support for adult students pursuing degrees later in life. Preference was given to those without family support. The first award ceremony was scheduled at the Grand Hall. The same stage I'd crossed alone. The same auditorium where I'd spoken the truth about my family. This time, I'd be presenting scholarships to 5 students, each with their own story of resilience. The night arrived with perfect spring weather. The hall filled with students, supporters, and community members. I stood backstage, now comfortable in this space, waiting for my introduction. As I peeked through the curtain, I saw my family at the back. All of them. Mom, Dad, Callie, even Ryan. They sat quietly, not in the front row, not demanding attention. Just there, watching. I felt nothing toward them. No anger, no satisfaction. Just a quiet acknowledgement that they existed, but they no longer controlled my emotions. The introducer called my name. I walked into the light, approached the microphone, and looked out at the crowd. A year ago, I stood on this stage and told you about walking alone. Tonight, I want to talk about what happened after. I continued, my voice steady and sure. After I walked that stage alone, I had 2 choices, become bitter or become better. I chose better. I built programs that help others. I created opportunities where there were none. I transformed my pain into purpose. The scholarship recipients sat in the front row, tissues in hand, nodding along. These 5 students behind me? They understand what it means to keep going when nobody's watching. They've worked third-shift jobs while studying. They've raised children alone while pursuing dreams. They've walked alone, and they've kept walking. I paused, finding my family in the back. They were crying, all of them, even Callie. I used to think walking alone meant being unloved, I said, echoing the words I'd written a year ago. Now I know it means walking toward the life you deserve. It means understanding that you are enough, even when others can't see it. The crowd rose in standing ovation. The scholarship recipients joined me on stage, and we took photos together, their joy infectious. Afterward, during the reception, I saw my family keeping their distance, respecting boundaries. Mara broke free from them and ran to hug me. I held her tight, whispering that I was proud of her. Mom approached cautiously. That was beautiful, Elise. You're doing exactly what you were meant to do. I nodded. I know. No more fighting. No more proving. Just truth. As I left that night, I paused at the auditorium doors and looked back one final time. The empty front row from my graduation was gone, replaced by hundreds of people who'd shown up for something meaningful. They refused to attend my graduation. But now, they couldn't look away. And that was exactly the ending I'd written for myself.